Everything old is new again. America's entertainment pop culture talk show.
It may well possess a rudimentary intelligence.
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Felt a great disturbance in the force.
Hello, I'm Mr. Red.
Come on, Mark, like a dog for me.
Where's the goodies? Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
I bet you wouldn't have done anything like this if Mom and Dad were here.
You filthy criminal.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Here are your hosts, Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Only a few phrases in English literature have left the printed page to gain their own immortality. Shakespeare's "to be or not to be" is one. Charles Dickens' "it was the best of times, it was the worst of times" is another. None, perhaps, has captured the world's imagination more completely than "Elementary, my dear Watson, elementary," spoken by the most brilliant and popular private detective of all time. The question is still debated to this day. Who was Sherlock Holmes?
Welcome to Everything Old is New Again. This is Douglas Viviani with the super sleuth himself, David Cohen.
Yes, good to be here, Doug.
It's good to be anywhere these days, and we're having a lot of fun looking at different aspects of pop culture, of course. And today, I thought it would be fun to take a look at Sherlock Holmes and determine, because we've had this question many times, was he real, was he not real? Was he a work of fiction? Was it just a sort of a chronicle of his real-life events or not, all those books? What do you think?
Or was he loosely based on somebody that existed? Yeah, we've had that debate. But, we've had proof, I believe.
I do. There's lots of proof. We, of course, have had visits from Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson in the past. We've been able to send our phone back into the past. We've learned that technology, and we've had them on the show probably 4 or 5 times. And so that's been a lot of fun. And we want to figure out what that's all about. Are these really, is that really Holmes and Watson we're talking to? And or who are they? What's it all about? What did Arthur Conan Doyle do? What did he have to do with it all? So that's what we're going to do here on Everything Old is New Again this week, and try to dive into that a little bit. And I have a clip here of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and I think it's apropos too. By the way, for a Star Trek reference, we've got, of course, Leonard Nimoy introducing all of this from in search of back in the day, of course. So let's take a listen here, a little something.
While it is common knowledge that Conan Doyle wrote the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, many readers were and still are convinced that this unique detective actually existed. Did he?
See, that's the question, and they addressed that question a number of times throughout that exploration in the 70s, so I think it's fun to take a look at it and see what it's all about. It's time to really find out if we've got, I don't know, if we've got real, what is that? That's the Holmes and Watson hotline, right?
That's our time travel hotline.
All right, why don't you pick that up?
Okay.
You
Hello?
This is Dr. Watson, and I'm here with Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock, make an appearance, would you please? Why do I always have to talk?
Yes, this is Sherlock Holmes here. I'm calling remotely. I'm not actually physically with Dr. Watson because, of the pandemic.
There's no pandemic in the Victorian era. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're... But the bottom line is, listen, so you got a pandemic. He's making fun of you is what it is. He's understanding that you've gone through a pandemic. You've got difficult times. I understand. But for you...
I'm just trying to relate. I'm trying to relate to the time period that we're discussing, Watson.
Sherlock Holmes is certainly no comedian. He's trying to be comedic. He's trying to give some kind of a nod to the accolades of Wayne. What was that guy?
Yeah, so as you chaps can see, Watson and I are getting along famously, as usual.
Giving us social distance. What are you trying to... Wayne Fetterman had an effect on Mr. Holmes there, I could see.
I absolutely enjoyed that. Yes, I am starting a career pioneering in stand-up comedy, which is next, and Watson will be my dummy.
Holmes, do me a favor, Holmes. You got to stop, because I can't even... The sound on the radio of that sound that you're talking, we get it. Let's put it that way. I know you're a genius when it comes to being a super sleuth, but as far as radio is concerned, you're a novice. Let's put it that way. Am I right or wrong? David Cohen?
I think you're right, Doug, but, they're trying. You have to give them an A for effort.
Well, why are you calling in?
Thank you, David. Thank you very much for that.
Why are you calling in, Holmes? Seriously, why are you calling us now? We're happy to talk to you. It's a miracle of science that we can reach into the Victorian era at this point. But what's up? What do you need, Holmes? What's up?
Sorry, I thought you were talking to my sidekick.
But take that mask off. Come on, let's get to it. What are we doing here? What's the story?
Is that better? Can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I was wearing one of your masks. Again, my lame attempt at humor. Anyway, we're calling in because Watson and I have taken issue with the absolute even idea that we are not actual, in the flesh, human beings.
Well, and I have to say that that is a question. Maybe we could explore that with you. Maybe we'll have a little bit of an interview. That wouldn't be a bad idea. David, what do you think about interviewing these characters, about their lives? Why don't we do that?
Yeah, I mean, sure, why not?
All right, let me just play a clip I was going to play for you guys before. It's called a gentleman by the name of William Gillette. This recording, believe it or not, is from 1895. I dug this up. It's of his performance on stage, and he is representing, and I'm sure you know, that there have been plays made from the various works and production of your escapades by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So let's listen to a tape or, a recording from 1895.
We must blend in. Fortunately, my time tripping the boards has made me a master in disguise.
That's the wrong clip. Hang on.
Look, if you chaps aren't even going to get the clips correct, I'm not sure how we should be responding.
Here we go, 1890. Here we go, 1895.
Okay.
Sherlock Holmes' reputation was enhanced by a play about him written by an American actor, William Gillette. Gillette probably played the part of Holmes more times than any other actor.
An 1895 recording preserves his performance.
How the deuce did you know my wife was away? Marvelous. Elementary, my dear fellow, elementary.
How about that? He's making you come alive here, Holmes. I mean, your reputation is spread certainly throughout the city of London through this play. Isn't that something that's worthwhile for you? I mean, that sort of, it doesn't answer the question if you're alive or not and real, but it does present a nice story that you're kind of getting famous now. What do you think of this?
Well, I must say that the issue I have with that performance is that I was ascribed, if you will, a catchphrase, which I believe became quite popular in American sitcoms many years after. But I never, Watson, correct me if I'm wrong here, but have I ever uttered the phrase elementary, my dear Watson?
All I can tell you is that you're certainly a gentleman of letters and gentleman of intelligence, and I don't know why you cannot use a microphone. The microphone and the telephone should be in front of your face, maybe 2 or 3 inches, so we can hear what you have to say. You cannot ever get near this thing. Get over here and talk. You want to talk to me?
All right, so my apologies.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get so animated and utterly distraught by these comparisons or these questions about our mere existence.
Right,
I forget. Is this better now?
Now I understand. I've done some research, Viviani and Cohen. Let me play you a clip, okay? I'm going to play a clip for you. Let me hear what you think of this representation.
I love the initiative.
Yeah, from this unbelievable. This is Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, 2018. Boy, that's some master of disguise.
We must blend in. Fortunately, my time tripping the boards has made me a master in disguise.
Yeah. You. What have you done with Sherlock?
Why, Watson?
I never left.
Amazing. Yes, I know. Yes, you've outdone yourself this time.
These 2 fools carrying on about things that Holmes, myself, Watson, I couldn't recognize that Holmes was Holmes just because he put on a pair of glasses. What do you think? Sherlock, I mean, come on.
Yes, no, I completely agree with you, Watson. I mean, if I put spectacles on, are you going to tell me that you wouldn't recognize
who I am?
And unless you had some kind of superpowers, if you had some kind of a red cape and an S on your chest, something of that nature. And this is where I would see that disguise would work in some fashion. But listen, guys, I got to tell you, I'm interested in this, but I'm horribly horrified by what's going on here. There's cross references, there's video problems, there's audio problems, there's pandemic disguise. Maybe when we come back, we can explore this properly and carefully and really take a look at whether Holmes and Watson really, are you guys real or like, we'll find this out right after this. But I'm going to play a little clip here of Robert Downey Jr. He should represent you guys well. Let's see, in this 2009 movie.
I need you to remain calm.
Yeah.
And trust me, I'm a professional. But beneath this pillow lies the key to my release. Of course, she misinterpreted my intention entirely.
Naturally, sir.
And that's why I find this modern religious fervor so troubling. There's no latitude for misunderstanding.
Faith runs right over reason, sir.
Indeed. And chambermaids were once such a liberal breed.
My wife's a chambermaid.
I don't know why I've really been made fun of antics. We'll be right back after this and everything.
You're listening to Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
An expert on the Sherlock Holmes period, Peter Lovesey.
The London of Sherlock Holmes was a sinister place, like these vaults of the Western Dock. It was a place of extreme poverty and squalor, where Jack the Ripper roamed the fog-enshrouded streets of the East End, looking for his miserable victims, and the police were quite unable to control the crime. But many people look back on it as a golden age, when Queen Victoria had reigned for as long as anyone could remember, and the upper classes could feel secure, safeguarded by the greatest of all detectives, Mr. Sherlock Holmes of Baker Street.
Welcome back to Everything Old is New Again. David Cohen, Douglas Viviani are trying to determine and dig into the legend, if you will, of Sherlock Holmes and trying to figure out, where is it all coming from. David, how are you doing so far?
Good, and really happy to have our guests with us as well.
Yes, we've got Holmes and Watson here, and they're listening here, and we do have the power of our time travel through the telephone. If you haven't heard before, we've been able to send that phone back in time to them, to the Victorian era.
By the way, has terrific quality of sound. It's almost like
let's get to the
not
point.
Calling in.
It does have.
I'm sorry?
What the heck was that? What was that? Holmes was just. That was Watson sounding like he was a little. But I don't know. Watson, you there? I'm just put off. I'm trying to hold back Holmes at this point in time. He's very interested in this discussion. However, this gentleman did little more than protect and safeguard the upper class of the Victorian era. Holmes, would you please take off and have a little something? You can add more than I can to this. I know you're seeing red, but you protected more than just the upper class of the Victorian era.
That's right, Watson. I was responsible. I should say we were responsible for the protection of all classes of citizen, no matter what rank or age or background. So I take what's the word I'm looking for?
Umbrage. You take umbrage.
Umbrage. I take umbrage at this. Umbrage, I say. And I might add that just because you speak with an English accent doesn't mean you're representing myself or Mr. Watson.
It doesn't even represent that you're Englisher, if you will. You can do an English accent from East Northport if you want to, or New York City, or wherever you want to be, and you can claim to be someone that's from England, but it's not necessarily the case. And well, listen, guys, you seem to be a little off. Have you had a few cocktails? Is that what's? I don't know. This seems to be a little off today, don't you, David? Think they're?
Well, I think they're for them. They're being pretty lucid. I follow what they're saying.
All right. Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to defend them a little bit. Well, let me put it this way. I know I have a clip. I have a clip. You want to talk about clips? Let me play a clip. Let's first take a look at the pop culture representation in the world of Holmes and myself in Murder by Death. This is not so very nice.
Look, Pop, there's someone in a car waving at us.
I say, old boy, could you possibly...
Hello, it's Mr. Sidney Wang.
Mr. Wang, good evening. So we finally meet. Can be of assistance.
Yes, we were looking for the Lionel Twain home. We've been invited to dinner.
Lionel Twain? You don't want to... Number 22, Lorna Lane, just past bridge.
Oh, ever so much obliged.
Oh. I don't get it, Pop. Why didn't you tell them it was all a rip-off? Let idiots find out for themselves. Drive, please.
Holmes, you hear what they called us? Did you hear what the language was in this?
I believe they called us idiots.
Exactly. And by the way, that imitation of myself lacks quite a bit, I would have to say.
Yeah, of course it does. You sound much more intelligent than that ridiculous parody of what you actually sound like.
Thank you very much. Listen, guys, I get it. I understand you're upset. I'm going to try to... that makes sense, but that was the end of Murder by Death. It was just a quip. It was just some fun. How about you take a look at the kids in our world are being introduced to Holmes and Watson in a nice way in the Great Mouse Detective. Have you ever seen it? Listen to this for a
correction. We cannot see it, Douglas. I believe you keep referring to let's take a look at or let's watch or let's look or see something when actually you're over the radio, right? So it's more about listening. Right?
I do get that. Yes, I could teach you a little bit about YouTube because you can get that from an iPhone. I don't know if you realize that. David, you do know
But your listeners are not watching you right now, right? They're listening. So when you say let's watch or let's see something, they can't actually do that.
See, there is the genius
Watson, back me up on this,
that is the genius of Sherlock Holmes. I'll buy that. I agree. You're correct. Watson. So let's listen to... Watson can't talk. He's busy right now. I can see him, and he's having a libation. Don't be so rude. If I feel like having a glass of water, I can have a glass of water.
Or if I feel like having a glass of vodka, I'll have a glass of vodka.
How the deuce did you know I was a doctor?
A surgeon, to be exact. Just returned from military duty in Afghanistan. Am I right?
Yes. Major David Q. Dawson. How could you possibly?
Quite simple, really. You've sewn
Watson, what are we doing for dinner?
With a Lambert stitch.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The surgeon uses. The thread is a unique form of catgut, easily distinguished by its peculiar pungency, found only in the Afghan provinces.
Amazing.
Actually, it's elementary, my dear Dawson.
Everybody with the elementary. Oh, talking about elementary. And by the way, you showing me the Great Mouse Detective to try to say wonderful representations you're making of Holmes and Watson and so on. The mouse! Those are mice! Holmes!
Was that a mouse? This is ridiculous. Sorry, I misplaced my vodka. Here it is.
I don't know.
It's absolutely ridiculous, Watson. Back me up here. You didn't back me up before.
I don't know where you're getting the vodka from. Vodka's from Russia. It wasn't delivered to England until at least the 1930s, and all of a sudden you're drinking vodka. I don't know. What about the scotch?
But we're calling into a radio station in the year 2021. That's acceptable, I see. I'm not sure where we're drawing the line here, Watson.
There has to be some semblance of reality. There has to be
some semblance, yes. Agreed.
I knew they were at a bar. I knew it. I knew they were having cocktails.
Yeah,
guys,
they're definitely hitting the sauce.
Yeah. How about Young Sherlock Holmes, 1985, a Steven Spielberg-inspired production. How about you listen to a little smidge of this? It shows like a nice, honorable representation.
Before a lifetime of adventure came the adventure of a lifetime.
What's your name?
Holmes. Sherlock Holmes.
There's a girl.
Brilliant deduction, Watson. Steven Spielberg presents Young Sherlock Holmes, directed by Barry Levinson.
See, that's not bad. Holmes, you got, like a 14-year-old kid, Holmes as a young gentleman at 14, and you still got those, those accolades and abilities that you have, and you solve a mystery there. What do you think of that? I mean, that's okay.
First of all, the reference to Holmes, Sherlock Holmes, like, James Bond, is not lost on me, and I don't appreciate that at all. But one thing I can say about the reference to, my brilliance as a child is that it's completely false. I worked very hard at developing the skills that I've been using for many years now, and certainly was not innate and part of my genetic makeup. Watson, you can attest to that, I believe.
I can certainly attest to that. And that would also, by implication, mean that a 14-year-old child knows more and is more adept at solving mysteries and observing life than myself, a man of letters and somebody who's done many, many inquiries, whether it be through the medical profession or whether it be all the time that I spent with Holmes. I still can't figure out what Holmes is doing. But meanwhile, some 14-year-old child involved. We're just trying to. I don't know. It's odd. You're taking everything and taking a spin on this, right?
Yeah, these guys are really like. It sounds like you guys are going with a little bit of a bias here. Like I just wish you'd be a little more open-minded, perhaps, about the portrayal, because I think some of them are fair in certain respects.
Yeah, and all right, let's go to this. Here's 1939. Okay, this goes back. It's not so far into your future. It's quite a bit ways in our past. But Basil Rathbone was one of the best Sherlock Holmes representations. He was in the movies. They performed about like 45 movies together with Nigel Bruce, who was your counterpart, Dr. Watson. So maybe this will stand in good stead, so to speak, for our culture and how we do admire Holmes. And then we can get back to a discussion of whether Holmes is real or not. But let's talk about the representation here. Here we go.
I must congratulate you, Mr. Holmes. You're far more clever than I thought.
Thank you, Mrs. Courtney. Praise from you is indeed gratifying. I shall always cherish the memory of your flattering words.
Memory? Oh, thank you.
And now I have a most regrettable task to perform.
Holmes! Coming, Holmes! Holmes! You all right?
Perfectly, thank you, old fellow, but I think this gentleman on the floor requires some medical attention. We must see that he looks his best, when he's hanged.
That's not so bad, huh? He's a strong, affluent kind of guy. He knows how to use a gun, and he's got, a nice way about him. What do you think, Sherlock?
That one was not as displeasing to me, I must say. I think it was more accurate than the prior ones.
I would take a little bit of a step back here, Holmes, and take a look. That seemed to be quite a nasty and vengeful individual. You do your work in a very professional manner. You don't talk about corpses and hanging people and having them look when they're hanging. It's a little vengeful, if you will. I have to stick up for my gentleman friend here. He's a man of many talents, none of which include vengeance.
Well, thank you, Watson. I appreciate that, and agreed. I guess in that respect, it was a bit exaggerated.
You gentlemen are opening our eyes to a little bit here. We'll be back. Everything All is New Again, and see if we can expand this a little bit.
Well, this is Karen Allen from Raiders of the Lost Ark and Czarman, and I'm here to tell you about my wonderful store and website, KarenAllenFiberArts.com. It's KarenAllen-FiberArts.com. I carry all kinds of really unique gifts and women's clothing lines from all over the world, from small studios that are things you won't see anywhere else. And if you're looking for a gift or something for yourself, please get in touch with us. We would love to help you find that special thing.
That's KarenAllen-FiberArts.com.
Now, back to America's entertainment pop culture talk show. Everything old is new again, with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
H.R.F. Keating is one of Doyle's leading biographers.
But he did other things in many other fields. He was the man who introduced the ski to Switzerland. Before that, it had just been a way of getting about over the snow in Norway. He brought it to Switzerland and started the whole great skiing industry. It was like bringing the pumpkin to America. Then, in the 1914 war, he was the man responsible for the introduction of the modern military steel helmet. He carried out experiments himself with a rifle and proved that protection could be given against the modern bullet.
Welcome back to Everything Old is New Again. We're hearing a little bit there about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. David Cohen, he was, of course, the author of Sherlock Holmes and all those wonderful explorations of the adventures of Holmes and Watson. Where do you stand on this, David Cohen? Been having some fun here a little bit, trying to figure this out?
Yeah. And I had no idea he introduced the concept of skiing to the Swiss. So
you want to talk about libel? You want to talk about slander?
Holmes and Watson are here with us. If you're just tuning in to the Power of Radio, we've had an opportunity to have Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson with us. Watson, what are you upset about? What's up?
I'll tell you what's up. I was the man that introduced skiing to Switzerland, I would have you say, and in World War I times, it was Holmes himself that introduced the steel helmet. Sherlock, you want to please confirm and deny what I have to say?
You're absolutely correct, Watson. In fact, I remember your actual words to the Swiss. You said, "Swiss people, I herefore introduce you to skiing." And the crowd erupted in applause. It was a landmark moment in Swiss history.
Wait a minute now. You're saying that you were the one that introduced skiing?
No. I recall you doing it. I was paraphrasing your speech, but it sort of emblazoned in my mind because I recollect it quite clearly.
And I recollect you doing experiments, putting a steel helmet on my head and shooting a rifle at it. And in turn, at World War II, you provided that information to the government so they could use steel helmets for the military.
And you were a brave man to let me fire a bullet at your head, Watson. Don't discount yourself there.
I wonder if that, I don't know if that had any effect upon the way these two are behaving now, or the way Holmes is behaving, if he's got...
I believe Douglas is trying his attempt at humor now, Watson. What do you think?
I think it was. But, all right, so let's take a look a little more then at Dr. Watson himself, because it's sort of it's part of the picture, right? If Holmes is real, Watson needs, of course, to be real, right? So, I mean, and you're saying that your relationship with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was not what we think it is. Let's take a look anyway. Let's look at...
No, we didn't say anything. You were just making that assumption. Well, yes, that is all view. Yes.
Well, but, there was a representation at the top of the hour, top of the section here that said that Arthur Conan Doyle was the one to introduce skiing and the steel helmets, and you two are telling me that he did not do so. So it sounds to me like there's a dispute at the very least on that issue.
Correct. I stand corrected. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, again, I think Dave, I think they're definitely at a bar right now.
Yeah, they're pissed, man. They're just
they're seeing red.
Like hair trigger.
Let's take Without a Clue, 1988. Michael Caine and Ben Kingsley. Let's see how this.
Just when you thought you knew everything about the world's greatest detective, along comes Without a Clue. It's about the greatest case of mistaken identity in history.
Excuse me, but you are Sherlock Holmes, aren't you?
Well, that depends.
But it's time now for the public to learn the truth.
The truth?
He was an actor. Unfortunately, he was also a gambler, a womanizer, and a drunkard.
It's the flip side of Sherlock Holmes. Michael Caine and Ben Kingsley are Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson as you've never seen them before. Without a Clue.
Now that's a movie that I think I can stand behind. A representation that Sherlock Holmes was not the one that solved every single one of these mysteries all by himself. And in fact, this movie's got Sherlock Holmes as an actor. It sounds like, Sherlock?
Watson, look, I want to make sure that you receive the appropriate accolades and the credit for your part in our dynamic duo. However, to be quite honest, I'm the one that solves the mysteries. You provide the support for me, and much needed, and great support as it were. But I'm the brains behind this operation.
I'll tell you, if everyone wants to take a look back, we saw Holmes and Watson working together as a team right here on Everything Old is New Again in the American Pickers show. So go back and take a look at that. You'll see, and just judge for yourself who was the one that was actually solving all of the mysteries that were being presented before them on Everything Old is New Again. That would be something to take a look at, don't you think, David?
Oh, I didn't know you were talking to me. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I think it was a... It's a perfect whatever you just said. Yes.
Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look at Holmes. Holmes, you do have a nemesis, right? His name would be, it's not Watson, it's actually Moriarty. So let's listen a little bit about that.
Well, there you are, Holmes. I'm afraid you have a bad opinion of me.
On the contrary, I hold you in the highest esteem, but only as a knave.
It's gratifying to know that one's talents are appreciated by such a distinguished connoisseur.
You've a magnificent brain, Moriarty. I admire it. I admire it so much, I'd like to present it pickled in alcohol to the London Medical Society.
That would make an interesting exhibit.
That's an interesting. Now, Holmes, what do you think of that? Pickles and alcohol. You still show a little vengeance there, but I don't know. Do you have that streak in you, or where do we stand with this? Seems like Basil Rathbone's representing you as a bit of a I don't know, an oaf or a strong man, if you will.
Yes, I take exception to that, but I must say that that depiction of my sense of humor, I think, pales in comparison to my actual sense of humor. I think that's what I'm more offended about. Wouldn't you agree, Watson?
The sense of humor that this man has. If you want to laugh at something, you leave the room, as far as I could say. You leave the room with and you'll start laughing. Once you walk into the room with Sherlock Holmes, and it's all business. There's no comedy. I don't know what he's talking about.
All right, well, there we go. We do have differences, as you fellows are aware, Watson and myself, but I think we both know that, again, I am the driving force of most of these investigations, if not all of them, but again, could not do it without my trusted sidekick, Watson.
The man's relieving his own press, if you will. He'll listen to Sherlock Holmes. You want to hear something funny? Want to hear some representation of us? By this culture that we've called into, they call it a culture, Sherlock Holmes, GNOMS.
Watson, look what you've done to the globe. Me? You're the one who kicked it because you ducked. There is only one ornament evil enough and brilliant enough to pull off such a diabolical scheme. Moriarty.
Moriarty? That's impossible. Moriarty was smashed. We saw it.
Sherlock Holmes!
And Dr.
Finally, a new case.
Okay, now, that's not so bad, guys. You talk about Moriarty, and you're going to, get some revenge against this, and Sherlock
Well, we
Gnomes.
depict it as gnomes, and that
Well, yeah, that's, yes. But Johnny Depp played you, that was...
Johnny Depp, a pirate, a known pirate, has to be someone that all of a sudden turns to acting and becomes a Sherlock Holmes. What about that?
Well,
it's highly insulting, all of this, really.
I see. But Johnny Depp wasn't really a pirate. He played a pirate, as an...
I've seen these videograms, these Pirates of the Caribbean adventures this gentleman's been on. Hey, don't tell me he is a pirate.
No, David, help me out. He's an actor, right? He's not... we're blurring the lines here a little bit.
Yeah, he's portraying Captain Jack... I forget the last name, but he's portraying a pirate. He himself is not actually a pirate.
Well, it's sort of blurring the lines. It's sort of like, this is exactly our problem. We're trying to figure out, Holmes and Watson, are you real or are you representations of fictional characters? Are you fictional characters created by Arthur Conan Doyle or what? Like, this is exactly the problem that we're trying to work through here. And I don't know if you two are able to kind of separate the two, if that makes any sense. Let's just take a look at, try it again. How about Family Guy? It's a cartoon. Kids watch cartoons. Certainly the adults like this as well. Let's see how they represent Holmes and Watson here.
Watson, that's it. Didn't think I'd figure it out. This calls for the old Sherlock Holmes celebratory smoke. I'll just light my pipe. You can dispense with the act, Professor Moriarty.
Holmes, what are you talking about? Moriarty's dead. You killed him.
No, that was one of his lackeys. Isn't that right, Professor?
Very clever, Holmes. One last mystery to solve. Why do they call you Professor? I teach at Hogwarts. Really? No, but we should have done that instead of this.
Well, okay, so may not really be the best representation, David Cohen. I don't know. Blurring the lines here now also with Hogwarts. And,
yeah, I think it's getting very confusing to me. Anyway.
Yeah. Hogwarts was Sherlock Holmes, or were we talking about some kind of fantastical adventure with kids going to school? So where are we with all of this? Well, I'll tell you what. When we get back, let's talk a little bit more about the effect of pop culture or upon Sherlock Holmes and of Sherlock Holmes on pop culture. And maybe through that investigation we can come a little bit closer to an understanding as to, in fact, who is Sherlock Holmes and, I don't know, was he real or not? We'll be back right after this and everything old is new again. Who the heck do you think you're talking to if we're not real, legitimate voices?
Who do they need, Watson?
This is Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show. with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Holy great interview! Hi, this is Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman. You're listening to Douglas Viviani and David Cohen's fabulous radio show, Everything's Old is New Again. To the Batmobile, citizens.
How about that? We're back here. Everything Old is New Again. Burt Ward from, Batman 66, they're calling it now. Everybody realizes from the Batman 1966 TV series. David Cohen, what do you think of that? That was a nice little introduction.
Yeah, he was great to talk to, and always really cool to talk to one of your childhood idols. You know, someone you grew up with, right, and admired. If in character form only, it was good to speak to the man behind Robin.
Absolutely, and we've got two other heroes with us here today. We've got Holmes and Watson via the power of radio and our iPhone that we're able to send back to the Victorian age. And
I'd like to know why in the world we're talking about a Burt Ward. We're talking Batman. What are we? Where are we going with all of this?
Well, yeah, I think it's a promo. We've interviewed other celebrities other than yourself and Sherlock Holmes, so they do these little interstitials for us, and we use them. And in fact, if you guys want to do one when we're through, we'd be honored to have you introduce yourselves in our show.
Well, that might be something that we might be able to work on. That would be something that I think would be adequate, as long as we're able to decide, is Holmes and Watson a real set of individuals?
Well, all right, let's go down that road then. Let's look at the pop culture representation. That might help us a little bit, because these people have investigated this a lot. In The Adventure of the Speckled Band from 1949, Alan Napier, who was Alfred in that Batman series of 1966. So this is before he was Alfred, and I know you get lost in this pop culture, but some of the listeners might know. So let's take a listen to Alfred as an actor, really, playing Sherlock Holmes.
May I order you some tea? My dear Watson, pray build up the fire.
Oh, it isn't cold that makes me shiver, Mr. Holmes. It's fear.
And there was no one else you could turn to?
And I can't ask help of the two people I should.
Your father and a young gentleman.
Well, you know of me?
No, but you wear no wedding ring. And if your mother were alive, she would be with you.
Yes, she died many years ago. Mr. Holmes, my fears are so vague and based upon so little. Both of them think I'm demented. Perhaps I am.
From what I can observe, no more so than I, or good Dr. Watson here. Possibly even less than he. Huh?
Rather insulting individual. First of all, I've got to build up the fire. I'm a man of letters. I'm a man of character. I've been writing the memoirs of Holmes and Watson to have this boob, this Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, present them to the world. But I've got to light the fire. Well, I'd like to know what's going on, Holmes. Why am I lighting the fire? And further, I would like to really dive into this sanity question, this flippant remark that you make, Holmes, at the end of this presentation. I would like to play it again, and I would like to know why. Defend yourself, Holmes. Why are you making this
remark?
From
what I can observe, no more so than I, or good Dr. Watson here. Possibly even less than he. Huh?
We're supposed to laugh at such a comment. Holmes, would you please have something positive to say in response to my inquiry as to why I've got to light the fire and why you're making fun of me to some young lady?
Well, first of all, it's not me, Watson, who's making fun of you. That was an actor's portrayal of some script that was given to them. You know, in real life, I would not do that, nor have I ever. In that regard, again, just wanted to remind you that, as far as lighting fires, you do it quite well. And, we've come to rely on your talents in that regard.
Well, all right. As long as you present it that way, I was going to say I'll be more than happy to light the fire. And by the way, that young lady that you were speaking to in that, or the actor...
Again, not me, but yes, understood.
Is very convincing. She was something else.
I must admit, sometimes your sense of humor is equal to mine, Watson, but let me just say that clip that was just played was the most boring clip of all of them, and in no way represents the actual life that Watson and I are leading here. And I think that in reality, what we do is much more exciting, wouldn't you say, Watson?
Yeah, that is actually, I was to cut you off here for a second, because I do agree with you there a little bit. This Alan Napier may not have been the best representation of you, but let me put it this way. He did a nice job on this Batman show, so let's listen to him a little bit against the Joker.
I'm afraid the Joker accidentally tripped the Batpo switch and mistook this for a secret passage, sir.
Then he's down in the Batcave.
He didn't quite make the Batcave, Master Robin.
Then where is he?
I believe he should be arriving presently. The emergency Batpole elevator. Fast thinking, Alfred. Thank you, sir.
Someone get me off this crazy dumbwaiter! I can't breathe!
This is total insanity. I have no idea why we're playing clips of a show from 1966.
David, I mean, you want to explain this to them? A little something about Batman and how Napier relates to Sherlock Holmes. There's a long history here that we're trying to connect.
It's a long and complicated history. I think, I'm not sure I totally understand it either, to be honest with you. One thing I can say is that voice that was, I believe the character was Robin. Was that the fellow who introduced you earlier, the Bert something?
See, now there is a genius here that's behind all of this. Yes, that is the gentleman that introduced us into the interstitial, as we're saying, the introduction, the return. That is and was Robin himself. So you're sort of in the family here. So it's all interesting. And I'm wondering, Robin certainly is real. Robin, the actor we've had on the show here, on Everything Old is New Again, he's real. So, the pop culture references here seem to be tending to fall on the side that Holmes and Watson are real. David Cohen, have we decided that? Have we figured this out through this little exploration that we've been trying to do here?
Well, I think they were real. I think they are real because I believe that the two fellows who are on the other side of this line are actually Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson.
All right, that's totally possible. And I will say this. There is an interesting relationship between the two of you and the television show Star Trek, which is a show that we are, very enamored with. We do have a representation in every show. At least we try to do a Star Trek reference. Of course, Leonard Nimoy's been introducing every one of these segments that we've been involved with. And now In Search Of was a show that he did, of course, the investigation itself as to whether Holmes and Watson was real. Let's listen to their and his determinations whether Holmes and Watson are real.
The horse-drawn carriages of 1895 may have disappeared, but the living presence of Sherlock Holmes of Baker Street persists to this day. Nearly 100 years after A Study in Scarlet, letters still come into that address at 221B Baker Street, now the offices of an insurance company who reply on Sherlock Holmes' behalf. For those who believe Sherlock Holmes was only a figment of a writer's imagination, In Search Of humbly submits its deduction that he did, in a very real way, exist.
How about that? So, all right, what do you think, David? Not so bad?
Not so bad. Yes, but I'd like to take issue with that because it's almost like, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. I mean, I think he's inferring that if we want to believe, we as a people want to believe that Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson existed, then therefore they existed. But that's rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. Watson, help me out here. I'm on my fourth vodka.
I don't know how you're getting that vodka, but all right, we'll get to that another day. I will say this to you. There's a gentleman. I'm happy to hear that there's some kind of presentation, some discussion in the year 2021 about Holmes and Watson. What I'm not so happy about is that presentation that, if you feel like believing that they're real, they're real. If you don't feel like it, you don't have to. Guess what? We're real. We're too real. Yes, and
yeah, man, we're real.
I don't know if Sherlock Holmes would say the word man. That's a phrase from the 1960s.
Well, that's full vodka is I'll say whatever I bloody want to.
I don't know where he's getting that vodka from. I'd like to see that source of the vodka.
I'll show you. Come on over after the pandemic, Holmes. I'll show you the vodka.
There's no pandemic in the Victorian era. Boy, this is really going astray here. He's real, but he's really, what we could say is, he's a real pain in the neck. That's what he's real about. I'll tell you that much, this is Holmes.
Thank you, Watson. Well said, yes.
You guys, you do provide some entertainment. I'll give you that much.
Yeah, and I also have to say, guys, that I think, the line, the more we talk to you, I think the line is getting more blurred between your reality that you're going through and what's happening today. So maybe we should, back off from communication a little bit just so you can get reacclimated to your actual existence. Doug, what do you think?
I do think that there's been let's put it this way, it's been too long that we've visited with Holmes and Watson. So they've sort of gotten lost. They've investigated, they've done things, they've explored on that iPhone, and so they've become a little too adept in our culture, our pop culture, so they're making references to things that are really not available even in the Victorian era, and it's a little, it's hard. The suspension of disbelief is just becoming a little hard for us to stomach. So I agree with you.
It was all a ruse, fellas, just to prove that we exist. Because if you accept the premise that we are real, then you also accept the premise that we can joke around and make references to your modern day, because we know all about it, don't we? So therefore, we are real. Watson, I don't know if that made any sense, but, what the hell?
You know what, I'll tell you what, I would bang the gavel at that point in time. It's over, it's done. The judge has decided. Holmes and Watson are real. They're very real. And by the way, Cohen, we're coming back, and we're coming back soon to talk about Star Trek. I don't care what you have to say about your business, about blurring lines. I'm a black and white guy. My black and white is the show is over. We're coming back another time. And everything else, do it again.
There's no blurred lines here.